Welcome back to Booch Ball. Freed, oh my God, the only podcast on the internet talking kombucha and college sports. I'm Alex, joined as always by my lovely co-host Freed. How you doing over there, Freed?
Doing great, Alex. It's the only show on the internet talking kombucha and college sports. We are live streaming on Twitter, maybe, definitely on YouTube.
I think so. Yeah, we're trying to figure this whole thing out as we go along. But, we've hit the big time here, Freed. We're in season 4 of Booch Ball. So we're off the podcast streaming, even though we're still going to turn this into a podcast down the line. But we're live. Anything could happen, Freed. Anybody could pop into this call at any time. And you know what, Freed? I think it just might be time to bring on one of our favorite guests in Booch Ball history and probably our most accomplished. It's no other than ESPN's own Jay Alter. Welcome to the show, Jay.
What's going on, guys? And you're talking about taking it to the next level with season 4. Kind of reminds me of your Miami Hurricanes, who are definitely looking to take it to the next level in year 2 under Mario Cristobal. And, there's nothing like week 1. I mean, you just have all the hope, all the expectations in front of you. We've waited so long for football to be back. And, just being down here, you can feel there's a palpable buzz, if you will, around the Hurricanes.
I love it, Jay. And Jay's coming at us live from the. Looks like you're in the South Beach area there, Jay.
Yeah, I don't know what this street is called, but, whatever the street is that parallels the beach, it's where ESPN has us staying. So we're actually pretty far from Coral Gables. This is my first time calling a Miami football game. You guys know I've done a ton of Miami basketball, and obviously that arena is right.
That's actually
in
on
Coral.
campus.
Yeah, that's right on campus in Coral Gables. This is pretty far away, so get to see actually more of South Beach and more of Miami, which is really nice.
Well, that actually explains a phenomenon that my dad, a Miami alumni, has pointed out on numerous occasions. He gets very upset when an announcer at a Miami game will say, "And we're coming at you live from South Beach," and then it will show a picture of the beach. He's like, "You're not in South Beach. You're either in Miami Gardens or you're in Coral Gables. You're at least 30 minutes away from wherever you think you are."
Yeah, no, I don't think he's ever gotten me in trouble for that. I try and say Coral Gables when I'm there, and I think I'm just going to say Hard Rock Stadium.
Well, Jay, tell us
night.
why you are in Miami. Tell these loyal Boochies why we have the famous Jay Alter on the show.
Yeah, so I get the pleasure of calling the Confusion Bowl. I've seen a ton of articles come out this week, including one from Miami, Ohio, their own, on their website. They're like, we feel bad for the announcer because, it's just classic. You do this your whole life, and it's always, touchdown, enter school name here. And touchdown Miami will just be very confusing. So I think you're going to hear – yeah, you're going to hear a lot of Hurricanes and Red Hawks. I think you're going to hear a lot of the U for obviously the home team. And, as much as Miami, Ohio fans won't like it, on our score bug, it's going to say Miami and then in parentheses, OH. So, the one thing I have clarified with them is they don't like Miami of Ohio. That's not the name of the school. It's Miami University.
That's right.
So down here in Florida, it's the University of Miami. In Oxford, Ohio, it's Miami University. But to the average fan, that's too technical. So I think, if the home team, the Hurricanes, score a touchdown, I'll probably be going the U touchdown.
Yeah,
Canes,
go the U.
Something like that.
Yeah, go the U. Go Canes. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds good, Jay. All right, the Confusion Bowl is upon us. It's going live tomorrow, Friday, as we enter into week 1 of the college football season. But Jay, before we get too much into this college football, this is Booch Ball, and we do have to stay true to our Boochy roots. Isn't that right, Freed?
You know it. We got a healthy pomegranate kombucha for today's drinking pleasure. They changed the cap. Do you have a new cap, Alex?
I'm not sure. Maybe. Oh, yeah. It's less good, I think. It's less cool.
It's different. They
made it more boring.
Caps.
I remember calling one of these last year. I've actually added it to my resume, and sports that I've called is kombucha drink off.
Yeah,
so.
Booch chug off. Yep.
Yeah.
And Jay, you know, this is a special occasion that we're here drinking this Health Aid pomegranate. Not only is this week 1, but this is actually our number 1 rated kombucha overall out of every Booch that we've had. We've had over 50 kombuchas over the course of this show. And
Wow.
we're doing some repeats from season 1, and we're trying to figure out if you know, they got a fair shake, or if maybe, you know, it was any given Booch ball and they maybe we got ahead of ourselves. So we've been wanting to tackle the Health Aid pomegranate for quite some time now. So Freed, I think it's time for us to go in and take our first sip.
Let's do it.
Vinegary.
This has got to live up to number 1. I mean, that's really tough.
High expectations.
You know what, Freed? I haven't had a Health Aid pomegranate in quite some time. I think I've been boycotting it because I felt that our 8.4 score overall was too high. I'll tell you what, though. I just took a nice little swing of this, and it's tasting pretty darn tasty, Freed. I don't know about you.
There's just something about the pomegranate. It just kind of works.
It's the pomegranate matched up with that classic Health Aid. Just like, it just makes you feel good when you're drinking it.
Yeah, it does. And, you know, we went with this one for another reason. We wanted a red kombucha because we're not anti-Miami of Ohio. And even if I call them that on purpose now, you know, we're here for them. Welcome to the show, Redhawks.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Hey, if you're a Boochie drinker out there in Oxford, Ohio, we're glad to have you on the show. So that's what we're drinking here, folks, the Health Aid pomegranate. It is now time to enter into the second segment of Booch Ball, which is, of course, what we're thinking. Freed, take us away.
So tomorrow night, live on ACC Network, right, Jay?
Correct. Yep.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's
big
the
lights.
First game of the season. Mario Cristobal, season 2. Jay's been prepping hard. What have you been experiencing this week since you've been in Miami?
Well, I'll be honest. Last year was disappointing in terms of wins and losses. I don't need to tell you guys that. But with disappointment and an off season where you overhaul about half the roster comes renewed hope, renewed expectations. And the one thing that you can definitively say is that this is a better team on paper. Now, the game is not played on paper. So tomorrow night,
I wish it was, Jay.
I know. Tomorrow night gives an opportunity for this staff and these players to prove that all their hard work in the offseason has paid dividends, and they are a better version of last year's team, and they can leave that in the past. And every player I've talked to this week is just super excited to go out and, you know, Cam Kitchens told me, you know, put the world on notice. And I think that's a great attitude to have going into week 1.
I love that. I really love that. And I desperately want to believe it, Jay. I desperately do. I think from the Miami perspective, our whole view of last season was tempering expectations. And I'm always going to be a Miami Hurricanes fan until they bury me in the ground. I love Miami, and I will watch every single Miami game. But I just can't have my expectations high just to see them dashed year after year after year. Is there anything that you've heard out there that kind of can give us Miami fans hope out here for season 2? Though I do like what I hear from Cam Kitchens. Cam Kitchens is one of the guys that I truly do trust whatever he's going to say.
Yeah, I think you can really lean on this defense. I mean, the way I look at it, I don't know. You've got some dudes. You've got probably the best safety duo in the country. I think your defensive line is stacked. This kid, Ruben Bain, is the real deal, guys.
Yeah, I keep hearing about Bain.
He's a total stud. We spoke with him yesterday. He is just mature beyond his years, both mentally and physically. I've been doing this long enough. You can talk to a kid without even seeing them play, and you just say, okay, that's a first-round pick.
Yeah.
That, to me, the mental part of the game is so huge, particularly playing at a place like Miami where the expectations are sky high year after year. And I'm not saying Ruben Bain's going to have a huge game tomorrow night. I'm just saying He's a guy that's going to be a pillar of this program going forward. I mean, I think Mario Cristobal would even tell you he probably needs 2 or 3 more classes full of Reuben Baines before they're winning national championships, which obviously is why he came to Miami. He wants to win national championships. But yeah, the one thing you can definitively say is there this year, and I think you're going to see it tomorrow night, will be a step towards that. It's not going to happen overnight. This is a long process, but I know that Miami finally has the right guy in Cristobal, and it's just as you said, Elmo, just give it time. Like, even if it doesn't, work tomorrow night, because I'll tell you what, the Redhawks return 9 guys on defense and have a brother of an NFL quarterback and
Brett Gabbert.
Yeah, so it's tough because you should beat a school at home from the MAC, no doubt about it. I think the line is more than 2 touchdowns, but Miami, Ohio's a good ball club. So
I've heard people picking them to win the MAC this year.
Yeah, I think I would. So don't be surprised if you at the end of the season see Miami, Ohio's 9-3, won the MAC, and go into a great bowl game. So.
Right.
Yeah, and I've always said this, no matter what the sport is, don't read too much into one game. But obviously everybody at the U is feeling very optimistic, as they should. The roster is super talented. I think more so on defense. A lot of people are talking about how they bolstered the offensive line, and they have, and that's huge, and that's Cristobal's number one talking point. And I think the offensive line will be much improved. But I think when you look at the season going forward, if Miami's going to win a bunch of games and contend at the top of the ACC, it's going to be the defense for me.
Yeah, and I think the big thing that they have this year that they didn't have last year is depth. And it's not at every position, but it's at some key positions. Last year, you saw an injury to Zion Nelson really kind of devastated the line, and he's still not healthy, but that's not exactly a concern this year because they have bodies there. They brought in guys at the defensive line, linebacker, cornerback, kind of everywhere across the board. So the depth should be a big factor in them not falling apart quite as easily this season.
And I'll say the thing that I'm going to be looking out for most this year is going to be Tyler Van Dyke and how he's going to work with this new offensive coordinator, because we saw a freshman Tyler Van Dyke who had more of the air raid style offense, and Tyler Van Dyke had me thinking that he was the next coming of I don't know, Vinny Testaverde. I don't know, something like that. Maybe not a Brad Kaya or a Ken Dorsey, but somebody who could launch the ball down the field. Obviously, last year was a big step back, but at least the scapegoat was Josh Gaddis, and now Josh Gaddis is gone. You've got what's the name of our new guy, Freed?
Shannon Dawson.
Yeah,
Shannon Dawson. Yeah, and he
comes over from Houston,
right?
Yeah, comes over from Houston. Had a really good conversation with him. Look, he was part of a Houston offense that was super explosive. Their quarterback that he coached the last 4 seasons is potentially starting week 1 for the Cardinals. It's him and Josh Dobbs that are battling for that job.
Right.
So with Kyler Murray still not 100%. So, I mean, this is a guy that, his offense, in a word, explosion. I mean, he's going to be really, really good for the personnel that this team has. And he said when he got offered the job, he didn't immediately say yes. He said, I'm only going to take the job if we have a quarterback. So let me sit down, watch some film of Tyler Van Dyke. And he said, yeah, this kid's a quarterback. This kid's an NFL quarterback. Did it show up last year? Probably not. But it's his job to make him look like that again. And I think he'll do it. I mean, nobody knows until we see it, right? But
yeah, and we'll just have to, we'll have to keep him healthy too. And I think that'll be part of the, the beefed up offensive line that it seems like we have. So hopefully that should go a long way, because I think give him time and keep him healthy. See what happens.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to say on the offensive line is the center, Matt Lee, is the real deal, both in leadership. I mean, this guy. He, again, mature beyond his years and was just perfect for the type of player Cristobal wants. He's awesome on the field. He's awesome off the field. I think the one thing Cristobal has kept saying is the DNA of this team has improved. And it's like, well, what does that mean? And then you talk to a kid like Matt Lee, and you're like, that's what that means. You know, the more Matt Lees, the more Ruben Baines that are added to this program, it's just going to keep getting better, better, and better. They're hitting on the right type of kids.
Right. Yeah, I know. I heard Brett Romberg, who was the old center for the Miami 2000, 2001 football teams. He went on like a Twitter rampage, like in a good way, positive rampage. I don't know, is there a word for that, Freed? But he was just singing the praises of Matt Lee, which, you don't a lot of times hear from a lot of like the old, the legacy Miami guys. Like there's been a lot of kind of division, I think, between like the school and with past coaching staffs about having former players on the staff. And I think part of it's because they have such a high standard for what Miami can be. And I think Mario's, finally this guy who kind of really, truly understands that. And it seems to be, at least in the Twitter sphere, paying off. And so, yeah, well, go ahead, Jeff. Sorry.
I was just going to say, nobody has a higher standard for what Miami should be than Mario. When you're like, oh, alums thought it should have been, well, Mario was one of those alums. I mean, that's why he took the job. I mean, that's the only reason he's here. And I do think on paper, you couldn't be doing a better job than he is right now. On paper.
Yeah. And I wish we could win it on paper too. And Jay, we've been, there's been a lot of flowery, positive language, about the Miami players and from the coaching staff, but we can't have this live stream go any further without addressing Brett Gabbert, the younger brother of Blaine Gabbert's comments about being the real Miami. Have you got a chance to talk to Brett? Has he tried to temper his comments at all, or is he still on that the real Miami train?
I love that attitude, man. I mean, his head coach Chuck Martin, we spoke with him, and he was like, "What, do you fly down there to lose?" I mean, no, let's go down there and give them our best shot. And I love that mentality. I think there's too many teams that go into games like this where they're heavy underdogs and go, well, let's just lose by less. Let's lose respectably. It's like
moral victory.
Yeah, let's keep it within 10. I think Miami, Ohio, and Brett Gabbert are like, nah, that's not our mentality. Let's go down to win. Let's go down to win. So
it makes me scared. Yeah.
Good mentality to have. I've actually covered Gabbert over the years because I do a lot of those midweek MAC games, and he's a great quarterback. Last year, similar to Van Dyke, he just was not healthy. He had no pieces around him. He is now back 100%. So don't be surprised if early in this game, I don't know, I think they're going to let him throw the ball. I mean, you look at the Miami, Ohio offensive line and the Miami, Florida defensive line. It's a mismatch. So what are you going to do? Try and run the football? I don't think so. So
we got some newer corners too. So
I think again, I have no idea.
At your own risk with Cam Kinchins playing around back there.
Right.
But yeah, I love it. I love the the fire coming from old Brett there about Miami being the real Miami.
We'll play that clip tomorrow night.
Absolutely.
I think again, we haven't had our final production meeting, but I think we'll probably play it in the open. Like right before kickoff. I mean,
well, you could play this. You could play this. This clip here because I think Freed, you had some little chatter back about the real Miami from earlier in this. Before we went live. I don't know if you remember it because if you don't, I do.
Oh, I do. I mean, the real Miami maybe, but Miami of Ohio is in Oxford, and they're not even the real Oxford. They're not even like the second real Oxford.
So I do need to take issue with one thing, and I might get hate tomorrow if I say it on the broadcast, is Miami, Ohio was founded before Florida was even a state.
Ooh.
Fair.
So they have been in existence for more than 100 years than this Miami has. I don't think I'll say it on the air because, again, I don't want to.
You should say it in the fourth quarter if Miami, Ohio is winning by 2 touchdowns. That's when you could say it.
That's fair.
Then I'm worried my house will get burned down.
In Connecticut, I think you'll be all right.
Yeah, maybe. Don't give the address, Elmo. Then it will get burned down.
All right. Well, Jay, since we've had some I love the competitiveness in the between Miami, and it's going to be a confusing day out there for you as an announcer. So I want to play a quick game with you before we let you go.
Yes.
And this is in honor of the Miami Confusion Bowl. We will be playing a game called Tale of Two Cities. Okay?
Okay.
All right. And so with this game, we're going to try to figure out what your level of confusion is about the two Miamis. Okay? So
Okay.
I am going to name, so talk about who the real Miami is. It's regardless. They're both in different places. There's Oxford, Ohio, and then there's University of Miami. So I'm going to rattle off a couple of the top tourist attractions that I looked up, through TripAdvisor and through Googling. Freed, is that you? Is there a dog like barking below your desk? What's happening there? It's been happening all show.
My neighbor dog / my wife sneezing.
Oh, that's your wife sneezing. Got it. I thought that was the dog still. Anyways, Tale of Two Cities. Okay. Jay Alter, is this in Oxford, Ohio, or Miami, Florida? The Houston Woods State Park.
Should I know this? The
fact that you don't know it is probably a sign.
Yeah, it's got to be Oxford, Ohio.
That's right. They have a large sandy beach. They have camping, horse trails, mountain bike trails, and a lodge. That is the number one attraction in Oxford, Ohio, according to
number one?
Yes, according to TripAdvisor.
See, I would have put one of the bars. They've got good bars there, but
TripAdvisor is I think it's a more family friendly as TripAdvisor.
Okay, true.
Okay, all right. This is the next one for you. Bayside Marketplace.
That's right here. That's Miami, Florida.
That's right, because Miami is located right on Biscayne Bay.
Yeah,
it's a really beautiful patch of water. There's a vibrant storefront. That's Bayside Marketplace with all sorts of
I think I just drove by it.
Yeah. Oh, you probably did. Okay, beautiful. There you go. Bayside Marketplace. So you're 2 for 2, Jay. This is really good. Okay. Next up. The Black Covered Bridge.
Yeah, that's going to be Oxford, Ohio.
Are you sure? You seem pretty sure about that.
Absolutely.
And you're absolutely correct. That is the number 2 thing to do in Oxford, Ohio, according to TripAdvisor.
Wow.
And what are people saying?
Is there a third? Is there a third?
Yes, there is. You're going to love the third, and I think you'll know it when you hear it. According to TripAdvisor, what are people saying? This is a nice covered bridge with signage, parking area, and a pretty natural area with plants.
Oh.
You'll love that.
4 stars out of 50 reviews. Number 2
By the
of
way,
16 things to do.
I gotta stand in here because I don't want this to get misconstrued into ESPN broadcaster rips on Oxford, Ohio. I've been to Oxford, Ohio 3 or 4 times. It's a lovely place to be. I love calling games there. I love Maction Tuesday and Wednesday nights. Whenever I get assigned a game of theirs, I know it's going to be a good time. They have a great party scene. But
I know that they do.
But if you're
half
looking
the kids
to take
from our high school went there, Jay. I feel like
I was going to say, yeah. But if you're looking for a family getaway, Oxford, Ohio is not the place for you.
Why not the Black Covered Bridge on the Miami University campus? All right, I think you're going to get this one. All right, the next attraction is Miami Beach. There's 2 Miamis. Which one is the real Miami Beach?
There it is.
You guessed it. Oh my God, Jay, you are killing it right now. All right, I think we got one more for you. In the Tale of Two Cities. And so far, Jay has got a perfect 4 for 4, I believe, or 5 for 5. All right, your last one here.
Yep.
This is going to be a tough one, I think. The William Holmes McGuffey House Museum.
Yeah, Oxford. That's one you have to hit if you ever find yourself in Oxford. That's a must.
And I think, to be fair to Oxford, I don't think TripAdvisor is doing them very. And this one has 2 reviews, but they're a 5-star. And
they're not doing them. They're not doing him justice. I need to get on there.
They did him dirty. You gotta start. Yeah, we gotta start a movement. So hey, if there are any Miami Redhawks fans out there, who are kombucha drinkers and have some better opinions about places to go in Miami, in the real Miami, go ahead and hit us up. I would love for this to get aggregated and say 2 random kombucha influencers on the internet talking shit about Oxford, Ohio.
Yeah,
Bring on the hate. Bring it on.
Leave the ESPN broadcaster who's totally neutral tomorrow night out of that.
Jay is totally out of it.
And has gone on record saying Oxford, Ohio is a lovely place.
It's a lovely, lovely place. Well, Jay, thank you so much for joining us here for the season opener on Booch Ball. Freed and I are going to do a couple more picking segments before we wrap up the live broadcast. But is there anything else you want to leave the loyal Boochies out here as you're strolling Miami Beach?
Yeah. Well, look how beautiful this is. The last thing I was going to say was the last time I was here, Isaiah Wong and Jim Larinaga cut down the nets and won the ACC regular season title. They went on to make the Final Four. So hopefully I can bring that same sort of luck to the Hurricanes, not just tomorrow night, but all season long.
And hopefully they'll keep sending you back down to the real Miami.
No comment.
No comment. Very good.
We love Oxford. We love Oxford. All right.
Absolutely. All right, Jay, thanks for joining us,
you guys.
We'll see you tomorrow night. Looking forward to having you in our homes.
Go Miami. All right, Bree, that went pretty good. Pretty good for our first ever live stream, huh?
And it's not over yet. We still got a full slate of games to pick and a kombucha to review. I've now recovered from having kombucha up my nose after the black sheep bridge.
It's the black covered bridge. I mean, I love a black covered bridge as much as the next guy. But and I didn't even get to Vizcaya Museum and Gardens. That is the one that could have given some trouble. But Vizcaya, you got to go Miami with that one. So Freed, I think what you're telling me is it's time for the third and final segment of Booch Ball. Who we're picking?
Who we are picking? Yeah, we got a big time slate week 1. There's some really good ranked on ranked games and a couple really bad Power 5 games. We're going to cover one of those in our sediment pick. Let's hit from the top. We got LSU favored by 2.5 points against Florida State in Orlando. This is a Sunday game, I believe. What are you picking here?
Sunday, which is the Saturday of Labor Day weekend, Freed. LSU versus Florida State. Hey, it's in Orlando. My cousin Connor's flying down to the game. I got to take the Florida State Seminoles on this one. As much as we hate the Seminoles, we got to go ACC over the SEC when we can, as long as the ACC still exists.
Yeah, I saw LSU's missing one of their top defenders. I'm going to go Florida State. Also, a little extra support around the community after Florida State got hit by that Hurricane Idalia. So, yeah, Florida State to cover. If LSU ends up winning outright, I would not be mad. But, yeah, Florida State.
All right, beautiful. Next up on the slate, we have Boise State not playing on the blue field this time, Freed. Boise State versus the University of Washington out there in Seattle. Washington, 14.5-point favorites, Freed. Starring Michael Penix Jr.
Oh, he said it. Don't say Penix. Boise State.
Penix.
Boise State. Man, I like Washington this year. Their offense is high flying. They're going to score a lot of points. 2 touchdowns should be no problem. I think they'll cover.
Yep, I got Washington as well, Freed. So far, we're on the same page.
All right, well, we got another Miami rivalry. Florida going out to the Rockies to face off with the Utah Utes. I was out there earlier this week. Beautiful out there. I actually learned a little bit about Utah culture.
Is there culture out there?
There's some football culture for sure. They got Utah and BYU. It seemed like it was about split 50-50 based on everybody I talked to. I didn't get the chance to meet a real life BYU fan in the flesh, but I was told that there's a lot of them out there. It's kind of wild that college football fandom is split down religious lines, but that's why they call it the Holy War, I guess. So
that's why.
Anyway, Utah favored by 4.5 points. Who are you picking here, Alex?
Well, Freed, after just Googling this just now, I found out that star Utah quarterback Cam Rising is doubtful for Thursday's game against the Florida Gators,
Yep.
which concerns me. But the
They're
Gators
missing their star tight end as well. Utah is.
But the Gators are also missing their star QB from last year by means of the NFL draft, Anthony Richardson. So as long as it's in Utah and it's 4.5, I think it was 6.5 before, I'm still going to give Utah the edge on this one until UF proves me wrong.
Okay. I'm going with Florida to cover. I don't think they're going to win 5 or 6 games this year, but I think they're still good enough to beat a Utah team with their backup quarterback, assuming their defense comes to play. If they can kind of just load up the box and control the run, assume that they're not going to get burned too much through the air. I hate to do it, but I'm just tempering expectations all over the place today and picking rivals. So Florida
got the Gators. All right. Fair enough. Next one up, we've got UNC versus USC. The Gamecocks, South Carolina. UNC coming to town with touted sophomore now, Drake May in tow.
Redshirt sophomore, redshirt. And this one's in Charlotte, so it's actually a neutral site. I like South Carolina to cover, to win, and actually to have a really good season. They came on super strong at the end of last season with Spencer Rattler leading the show. I think South Carolina wins this game.
All right, not so fast, Freed. Not so fast. I'm going to give it again to the ACC with my favoritism showing. I hope we can keep the ACC relevant for as long as it exists. That's what I'm saying.
How you doing on your Booch, by the way? I still got half left. I don't know if I'm going to make it to the sediment.
Oh, I'm already there, brother.
You're there? All right.
Let's keep this thing rolling.
Yeah, it's time for the sediment pick. What we do here on Booch Ball is pick one game where we scrape the bottom of the college football barrel, much like the bottom of a kombucha, which happens to have a lot of floaties hanging around there.
Millions and millions of probiotic bacteria in here. Billions even.
Billions and billions. And we consider this game to be a bit of a sediment pick, scraping the bottom of the barrel. Northwestern at Rutgers. Rutgers favored by 6.5 points. What do you think?
For me, this is the game of the year. This could be an all-time sediment bowl here. Northwestern with their whole coaching scandal, firing the head coach and cleaning out the coaching staff. I don't even know who's supposed to be coaching them at this point. And then Rutgers is just Rutgers.
Yeah,
and my real 9-to-5 job is based in Newark, so I can see the Rutgers soccer field directly from my office building. So I had to give it to the Scarlet Knights. Rutgers is going to cover.
Well, the Scarlet Knights might cover, but hopefully the Red Hawks don't. It's irrelevant for this. I'm taking the Scarlet Knights as well.
Okay, got it. Cool. All right, Freed, we made it through our official slate here. We've had some difference in opinions, but in order to do our tiebreaker like we do every week on Booch Ball, we have the University of Miami Hurricanes playing the Miami University Redhawks. Redhawks coming to town, hanging out with Jay Alter down in South Beach, even though the game is being played in Miami Gardens. All right, Freed, it's time for us to give our final score predictions. Whoever's closest has the tiebreaker here by the end. I think Miami's favored at this point by 16.5.
Okay. You have yours written down?
Yeah, I got it written down.
All right, I'm going to go first then because I don't have mine written down, and I don't want to be affected or altered in any sort of way.
Jay altered?
Yeah, I don't want to be Jay altered here, but
I do want to be Jay altered. He seems like he's killing it.
Man,
we're probably the biggest Jay Alter fans outside of his immediate family.
Oh yeah,
gotta be.
I'll be watching every single game. He's
Team Alter till I die. Yeah,
no doubt. I think Miami is going to come out and perform. It might be a little bit of a slow start in the first quarter, but I think Miami is going to be aggressive. They not only need to win this year, but they need to show that their offense is fun. I think that's a major key for them on the recruiting trail. They want to get some of these big-time offensive players, and they can't do it based on last year. They need to show that new things are coming. It's a fun offense, and then winning games will follow. So I'm going to give Miami 48 points, and I think the other Miami will score 17.
Interesting, Freed. I have Miami scoring 30 points and Miami Ohio scoring 17. So that's you got a high flying offense. I'll believe it when I see it, Freed. But all right, our picks are locked in. Freed, it is now time to pick the very last thing on Booch Ball, which is what is the final score for the Health Aid Pomegranate Kombucha, which is currently sitting at number 1 on our Boocha big board, where we've ranked
overrated
every Booch we've ever had with a combined score between the two of us of 8.4. Frida, you ready to give Health Aid an adjusted score here to kick off season 4?
Yeah, on any given Booch Ball, it hits a little differently. This is not over the 8 threshold for me. I think we call 8 delicious, and this is a really good kombucha, but I can't quite get above delicious. I'm going with 7.5.
Interesting, Freed. Yep, I feel right at the same way. This was a really delicious kombucha to start off with. I think for me, it's kind of faded throughout the episode, and the last sip was just not in the same class as the first sip. But overall, I really enjoyed it. Pomegranate is not a flavor you see too much out there in the real world, so it's kind of fun and funky to have some pomegranate in your Booch. So for me, I'm right there with you, slightly higher at a 7.9. And now, folks, it is time for the ETF5 bot, our own homemade robot, to calculate what the new final score is for the Health Aid Pomegranate.
Beep, boop, 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 beep, boop, boop. Scores in 7.7.
7.7. Oh, look. So again, symmetry. 7.7, Miami versus Miami. That's a confusion score, Freed.
Wow.
Couldn't drawn it up any better.
But with that combination, as we do our adjustment, going from the 7.7 to 8.4, I think we're still above the delicious threshold. So still a pretty good spot for pomegranate to be in. We'll have to get back to you guys once we decide how to officially add this score to the Booch Big Board.
Yeah, we might have to do an aggregated average across the board. But Freed, we've done it. Another episode of Booch Ball in the books. Season 4 is alive and well. Thank you to Jay Alter, who is going to be calling Miami versus Miami Friday night on the ACC network. Thank you to all the Boochies that are watching with us live and listening to us on the podcast. And thanks to Freed's neighbor's dog, who was barking throughout the entire episode. So thank you all. We love you. And as always,
stay cultured. Peace.